listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Today we're talking CPTSD, and the main subject that I'm going to discuss is that if you are dealing with CPTSD and trauma and you're having issues when it comes to maintaining adult state of being and not letting your parts take over and get triggered and blended, then if you can at all costs, it's better to deal with this with someone in your life. It is a lot harder when you are alone because you don't have anybody to trust or to look up to or talk about it when things are in a real bad place. You know, you're triggered or you're feeling traumatized, or, re-traumatized because you think that, or your system thinks that you're re-experiencing one of your traumas that you experienced as a child. And when you're on your own, it is really difficult because there's nobody to trust. And sure, we may have our therapist, but the level of personalized relationship with the therapist is not as deep and as meaningful as with someone like a trusted family member, or even better, someone that you love, like your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your husband or wife, or just your partner. It's deeper. There's more meaning. There's more, how do I put it, mutual interest and love and respect from and to each other than with a therapist, because a therapist is professional. There's no love interest, of course, from either side. And you feel more in touch and closer with your person, like the person that you're in a relationship with, or your family member that you trust. There's way more ability to feel like you can discuss anything, or that you feel safe with them. Now, I realize that that's not exactly something that everybody has and has the luxury of experiencing today. And I understand that. So I'm not saying that you're going to be out of luck, or that you're not gonna be able to heal, or you're gonna maintain, CPTSD throughout your entire life. That's not what I mean. It's just, it's easier for us on so many levels to handle this when you're with somebody in your life, not just in a, having discussions or being able to share your concerns and to discuss your triggers and traumas with them. But you feel that sense of safety. It's like it allows yourself to feel more more open, and the stress levels and the anxiety levels can be lower. Now, I'm not indicating that is true, or that is the same for every single person out there who is dealing with trauma in their lives. It is going to be different. Some of us are prone to, as has been explained in research and in many books and in other, videos that I've watched on YouTube, people who have dealt with childhood trauma and suffer from CPTSD are more prone to, meet someone and be in love with somebody who is similar or the same as their perpetrator. So if you grew up and let's say your father was abusive and neglected you and mentally and physically abused you, and you suffered, multiple traumas, and so you get triggered whenever you're around him, or something reminds you of the trauma that he, put on you, there's a good chance that of course, now I'm meaning more so for the women who are suffering from CPTSD and were abused by their father, there is a really good chance that you could meet someone who's a lot like him, that you're so used to it, like the trauma and the way that your father, raised you and traumatized you throughout your childhood and, into your early teen years, that you're going to meet someone who's going to be a lot like him. And that person could also potentially be abusive and, re-trigger you and bring up all the past traumas that you've experienced in your life. And you may not notice it right away. You're going to meet him, and like a lot of relationships at the beginning, they tend to be great. You have that phase where everything's great and you love each other and you're happy and you're having a good time and you feel so happy and you feel so like loved and everything is fantastic. And then slowly over time down the road, you start to notice things start to change, and it's small and it's, minor things that at first aren't going to necessarily, remind you of anything. Your friends might notice, maybe your mother notices, like if she was also abused like physically abused by your father, she may notice or see things, but because we're so like that person is so desperate and wanting someone to love them, there's a good chance that they're not going to see this. They're going to deny that this is happening. They're going to say stuff like, "Oh, you're just jealous. You don't." You don't like him. You don't see what I see. There's all these trends and these common things that occur in the beginning, or that second stage of the relationship, where you don't see it. You're not noticing it because it's so small. He hasn't started to, there's a good chance he hasn't started to hit you or manipulate you, or mentally abuse you. And maybe he's a narcissist and you're not even realizing it, and it's quite a common thing. And so, yeah, you've got your friends or you've got your family, telling you that this guy isn't good for you, and that he's like your father, and you're getting upset at your family members or your friends, thinking that they're just jealous or that they don't understand, they don't know him like you know him. And that's really unfortunate, because it's a common thing. If we could notice, like if that person could find a way to notice, like if they were healed, let's compare to someone who hasn't done any therapy and any work and hasn't started healing from their trauma, to someone who's done 10 years of therapy and has really done a lot of work on their own and healed themselves and feel like things are, like you're finally able to confront your fears and your traumas and maintain adult state of being. If you met somebody like that, who was similar to your perpetrator from the past, there are really good chance, there's good odds that you're going to notice this, and it's going to it's going to be right away or real soon after. And you're not going to allow your child parts to, say this person is okay, or that he doesn't mean it, or they'll make up whatever excuse. But for someone who's done a lot of work and is healing, or is, well on their way to being healed from their CPTSD, they're not going to allow this person to take control. They're not going to allow them to manipulate you, and you're going to end it. You're going to walk away, because you're going to know, and you're going to realize that this person is manipulative and a narcissist or is abusive, and you're just not going to take it. You're not going to accept it, and you're going to walk away. But for someone who is freshly new to this and maybe hasn't even done any therapy or has done any work with their trauma, there's that really good chance that you're going to not accept that, or you're not going to believe that this is happening, that you're going to give him another chance, right? You're going to convince yourself that it's only temporary. He doesn't mean it. He was mad at work, and he came home and got a little too emotional and didn't mean to. Those are those typical things that a lot of the times that a person who's all they really knew when they grew up was, being traumatized and abused, they have a hard time seeing reality and accepting the fact that the person that they're with is the wrong person and is an abuser, and that they need to end this relationship now. It isn't something that they can often do right away, unless it's so much that it's too obvious, or maybe they're around, like maybe their friends or, I don't know, mother or father are around them when the abuse occurs and somebody steps in. It's going to be extremely difficult for that person to see the light and notice that something is wrong here, and that they've just fallen into the same repeating pattern. Now, see, that's the complication when it comes to being with someone when you've got complex trauma and you're recovering and trying to do your work, is it's difficult for someone to gain trust. Like you have to earn it. Like someone who has CPTSD, and let's say you're dating them and you're understanding, like a lot of people, unfortunately, when they meet someone who's dealing with past trauma and past abuse from a partner or like from their childhood, they're not going to be very understanding, and they're not going to be very open when it comes to accepting the reality of the situation with their partner, and they're going to end up leaving, whether it's immediately or in a few months or even a year from now. They're going to at some point not be able to handle the reality of what is happening, and it's going to be difficult, because there will be times when that person that they're with is going to be suffering from flashbacks, and they're not always going to want to have that partner around them, because it may remind them of something, right? Like it and you can't take offense to that. You can't like say, that's not fair. I'm not like that person. I'm not an abusive person. I'm never going to do that to them. And it's very unfair to think and say things like that, especially, to the person who's dealing with the trauma, because you have to be very understanding, and you have to have a great deal of compassion and understanding and empathy for the person who's being traumatized and doing their work and healing from their CPTSD. it's a long and difficult process, and it is not something that's going to, be fixed in 6 months or a year. And you have to, for the person who is the partner with the person with CPTSD, has to have a great deal of understanding and respect for what they ask. And if they say to you, okay, I'm going through a tough time right now, I'm struggling with my processing, and I'm not doing too well today, I just don't think I'm feeling up to seeing anybody right now, like today. You have to respect that, and you have to understand and not fight it, like not argue, not say, but I want to see them. You don't have the luxury, and well, you shouldn't anyways be selfish, but you don't have that luxury of arguing it or trying to change their minds, because all that's doing is that's just in their minds reinforcing to them that you don't care, and that you're not being empathetic, and you're not believing them, or you're not trying to help them. And sometimes being helpful is by 100% saying, I understand, no problem, take care of yourself, do what's best for you, I'll get in touch with you in a few days. Or you could even let them be the one to contact you when they're feeling better. That is how this kind of works out. And if a person who has the trauma is lucky enough and fortunate enough to meet someone who is fully supportive and understanding of your situation, in all honesty, that is a blessing. That is a huge blessing, because it gives you that extra strength. It's like that bonus that you get. For those who are playing video games out there, it's like that bonus life, or that bonus energy level that you need to finish the game, to win. It is a lot like that. You feel supported, and you feel loved, and you're being respected for what you're going through, and thankfully there are a lot of people out there who are that way, where they understand, and they're going to be supportive, and they're going to give them the space that they need when they need it, and they're going to be there to support them and look after them and care for them when they desire that. And it depends on how they are. And the interesting thing is, and this is reality, is that it could change day to day. It's not always going to be the same. There's no set design, there's no pattern, there's no rules when it comes to how trauma and dealing with your flashbacks and your work goes. There's no set way. You could have days on end where you're feeling fantastic and you're doing well and you're not getting triggered and you're not being re-traumatized. And then you could suddenly just one day it just happens and so something out in the environment triggers you, whether you see something and you get triggered, and it's a big trigger, and it can take any amount of time to recover from it, to process through it. Maybe they have to go see the therapist in order to get help with the processing through that last trigger. And you might not be up to doing much of anything. Maybe all you want to do is just sit at home and dissociate for a while, or you're doing processing, and it's a struggle. So you're doing it for an hour or a half hour, however long, and then you're taking a break for a while. And then when you feel better, you go back and do more processing. So your partner obviously has to be understanding of this and accepting that this is reality, and this is the way it's going to be. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. There will be cloudy days and storms and times where you're not really going to see much of them, or if you do, it's going to be for 10 minutes. And then they need to get back to what they're doing. It can be pretty severe for someone who has dealt with severe trauma in their past, especially in childhood. There are going to be times where they just don't have the ability or don't feel like seeing that person. And the best thing that partner can do is to completely respect and honor that decision and not take it personally, not allow it to manifest inside them and have them thinking, oh, they're just being mean, they're not being true. And, like, it's one of those things that unfortunately is reality for so many people who have dealt with trauma and are trying to process and work through this, is they do have to be given the time and respect. And if their partner does that, then it's actually better. It's in the long run, it will be more meaningful, and you'll understand and you'll appreciate your partner's ability to take, just say, yeah, no problem, I understand, no big deal. I think, it's best if you do your work, take some time, do some processing, take care of yourself. I'm here if you need me, and just do it. Don't argue it. Don't question it. This is not the time to have selfish feelings or to demand anything. Honestly, you really don't have the right to demand anything from him or her at the time, because if you're fully aware of what they've been through and that they're going to get triggered and have to do processing at times, you've already made that agreement and you've fully respected that choice, and you can't really fight it, because otherwise you're just showing to your partner that you don't really care, or you're not being respectful of what they're going through and the hard work that they've been putting in for how many years now to fight and to heal from the trauma that they've experienced in their past. If you really love that person and you really want to show support and be there for them, then you have to 100% respect their choices. And if that's what they want, then you have to accept that and you have to happily do it. And it's a sign of real, true love and respect towards that person. And it's not the wording that you don't really think of, is you're not putting up with it or you're not dealing with it. It is something that you accept and love about them. They're your partner, It's just like if you married them, the whole line, in sickness and in health, through good and the bad, right? Like, I know that's not necessarily word for word, but that's what that means, is that if your partner is going through a rough time, you're going to be there, you're going to support them, you're going to do whatever you need to do for them. And even if that includes taking a break for a week or 2 weeks or however long it might take for them to do their work and to get to feel better and to do processing, that's what is involved in this. And as someone who's dealing with trauma, having a partner who understands and respects you for that and is, fully supportive of everything that you're going through is such an amazing bonus. And it's such a great feeling to have, because you do know that if times get tough, like if you're really struggling and you're having a hard time and you feel scared or you feel overwhelmed and your processing isn't really going too well, and you need someone to talk to or to listen to what you're saying, or just to hold you and be there for you in the moment, that that is really like helpful, that makes things easier, and you don't feel alone. You don't feel scared and by yourself. Even though you may choose to have time to be alone because you need that time in order to do the work and to really process through, knowing that they're there for you if you do need them is such an amazing feeling, and it really does. It makes a difference. It honestly makes such a difference for people. And for someone who doesn't have CPTSD, it's hard to really understand. Like I remember being told this a long time ago, unless you've experienced it or you're the therapist involved, it's not something that you're really going to understand. Like you can't sit there and say, okay, I want you to tell me about it. And I want you to express to me what is happening, what's going on. And I will understand, and I'll know what you mean. That is by no means an accurate statement, because unless you've experienced it yourself, there's no way you're going to understand. Like you'll have some idea, you can do research, you can watch videos, right? Like you can do whatever you can, but unless you've literally had the experience yourself firsthand, you don't truly get it. Like you'll never get it. Like there's no point in trying to sit there and say, I know what you mean, or I know how you feel, or I get what you're going through. That's not a legitimate, truthful statement, because you can't possibly know. Like that's just not true. And the best way to go through it is just to say, I'm here for you. I'm listening. I will do my best to give what is needed. Like your main goal is just to be supportive and to just be there for them, to listen to them if they want to talk to you. There's a good chance that they're not really going to want to discuss their trauma, because it could very well re-trigger them. You just have to be there. If they need you to sit with them or lie next to them and not say anything and just be silent together, then that's all that's required, right? Like for someone, I know those who are dealing with trauma and have been doing some work and processing and have their partner, that's all that they need. They don't need their, they never needed their partner to ask questions or to talk to them about it necessarily. That's not something that is a requirement. It's just being there, whether it's listening or just being present with them, going on a walk with them, doing what they ask, what they're looking for is a lot. And it's amazing what a difference that will make for that person. And once you understand the significance and how much that changes or that helps them, it really sinks in, because it shows them that you're an understanding person, that you're a caring, empathetic partner, and that's really all they really want. They're not asking for much, It's difficult for them. It's a hard thing that they're going through, and they've been going through it pretty much most of their life. And the struggles that they've experienced day after day, the good days, the bad days, it likely for many years to come is going to be continual. You may have more good days than the bad ones in the future, but there will be days where things will just trigger, and you're just going to have to be there, and that's all. There is nothing you can do. Well, besides being there in whatever capacity is required, that's the main part. If you can do that, then you already are an A+ student. I know that's a strange way of putting it, but that's what is required. as a partner, that is what is required of you, is to just be there. And if they want to talk, then you listen. If they don't want to talk, then just sit in silence. If they want to have you hold them, then you hold them. If they want you to stay away or give them space for a few days or a week, then you give them the space. This is what being a partner is. And it's not something that you really question, and you're not. It's something that you aren't going to do. You're not going to sit there and question the motives or wonder what is really going on. You're just going to be. That's what is required today, and likely tomorrow. But for a lot of us, down the road someday, when things are better, for a lot of people who have CPTSD and they do their work and they do a lot of processing and they start the healing process, there's going to be many more good days than bad days. There is a good chance that they could heal themselves or heal through therapy and the work, and 99 out of 100 times you're probably going to have a normal day that's going to just be like every other day. But there still may be a day where they get triggered, but there's a good chance that it really won't affect them too much, and it'll be an easy thing for them to process through. It likely will come, and like I said, just being there for them is makes all the difference. And it's not a hard job. It can be if you're, not everybody is built to be with someone who's dealing with trauma, and that's okay. That's just the way it is. People are different. So if you're not able to be with someone who's dealing with CPTSD, it's just the way it is. Move on. There's always other people out there. It's not like it's the end of the world, of course. And that will be fine. And that person will understand. They're going to be sad. They're going to be disappointed, but they will be okay. This isn't the first time, I'm sure, that they've been through being with someone who wasn't able to handle it. And it's not like they're not like their expectations are at a point where they think that the next person they meet is going to be the one. They know that it's going to be hard on them, and you have to work through it. And they have already done so much work that it will be tough, but they'll move on quickly. And that's life for someone with CPTSD. All right, everybody, that is today's episode. Later today, I'm actually doing a live stream broadcast. I know that for some of you, this will probably be too late. The date of the live stream is October 8th of 2022. It's 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If this is in the future, though, you can actually find the broadcast. It will be on YouTube. My YouTube page, of course, is Living with ADHD and CPTSD. You can watch it there. And it's going to be called Let's Have a Seat and Talk About ADHD. And there's going to be a few special guests on the show as well. So hopefully you tune in, and it'll be live, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. The audience can ask questions. There's going to be we're going to discuss ADHD to however we feel like, basically. All right. If you like this episode and you want to support me, you can do so. There's a number of ways. You can go to Patreon. I'm on there, Living with ADHD and CPTSD. You can find me there, and then you can sign up for a membership. The loyalty membership is where you can get merchandise for every time that You continue to be a member for every 3 months. You get a new piece of merchandise. It's pretty cool, and it's well worth it. And you get early bonus access to bonus episodes and early access to episodes. So you can do that. If you would rather just donate and help my cause and keep this on the air, you can go to Ko-fi.com. It's ko-fi.com/livingwithadhd and CPTSD. You can message me. You can email me. On Twitter, my handle is @ADHD and CPTSD. My email address is livingwithadhd and CPTSD@gmail.com. And you can go to my website, which is www.livingwithadhdandcptsd.ca. All right. Thanks for listening, and I shall talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.